Today's guest is Mrs. Susana Solis. She is member of the European Parliament in the committees on regional development, industry, research and energy, environment, public health and food safety, and in the special committee on artificial intelligence in a digital age. She was also vice chair of delegation for relation with Korean Peninsula. Hi, Susana. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks to you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah. It's a great honor. This is the first time for me to have a conversation with a famous politician like you.
A pleasure.
Yes. So to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role at the Parliament and EU and in Spain?
Okay, my name is Susana Solis. I come from Spain and I am a member of the European Parliament, where I am now here, and since 2019. In the Parliament, I am a member of several committees: the Regional Development, the Industry Committee, and also the Environmental Committee. And I also work for the Special Committee on Artificial Intelligence, and once more, the Gender Equality Committee.
Wow.
But I have to say that I studied industrial engineering, and I have worked in the private sector for most of my professional career. Before that, I have an uncommon academic and professional background as a member of parliament, as in politics it's very common to find lawyers and economists, and extremely rare to find engineers. But I think this is an advantage, because when it comes to decision making, I believe that it is good to have an engineer's viewpoint, because we have a technical background that makes us see things from a different perspective, which I think is good in the world of politics.
Yes, we have in Asia, I have seen the most of politicians study the politician career from the beginning, so they don't have a private sector experience. But these days, people talk about that what is desirable background of politician. Maybe it is more desirable for them to have some professional training in the private sector, and then they can leverage that experience to to contribute to the political society.
Yeah, the normal way in Spain is the same in Korea. Few politicians have experience in the private sector. I am something different.
Great. So let me ask you the very basic question, because Asian people do not have much understanding about the European Union or the Parliament of the European Union and government. I understand, also people in Asia understand, Europe has formed the European Union in the 1990s, and then that organization represented all the member country for some political agenda or whatever, but we have a very little understanding about that.
Yeah.
So my first question, what is the role of the country government and the EU government? How do the two organizations divide their role and cooperate with each other? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
A little bit, although it's not an easy question to because the first thing you need to understand is that in the European Union, there are three political institutions: the Commission, the Parliament, where I am here, and the Council. And I would make similarities with your national, with your national situation to understand. The European Commission is the executive branch, the government of the European Union. So it carries out and enforces laws. It is made up by 27 commissioners, one from each member state, and they would be the equivalent to the ministers you have in the cabinet of Moon Jae-in. At the moment, the Commission President is Ursula von der Leyen, and the Commission is the only institution able to propose legislation. Then we have the Parliament, the second institution, which is where I work. This is the legislative branch of the Union, together with the Council, and we are 705 members that represent the EU citizens, just like the members of your National Assembly. And what we do in the Parliament is to negotiate laws together with the Council, but we represent the citizens, and the council represents the states, the interests of the countries. Then the council, the third institution, is made up of one national minister from each of the 27 member states. And the council is presided by one member state, and this presidency changes every 6 months. And at the moment, for example, we have the Slovenian presidency, and from January 22, we will have the French presidency. So you can imagine, together these three institutions, we have to make the policies and laws that apply throughout the European Union. And the decision-making process is not a simple one procedure, as you can see.
Yes.
But just to give you an idea, around 70% of the legislation in any European country is decided here at European level. So it looks like a bureaucratic process, but it is what I like the most of policy making at the EU level, because here we have to reach agreements between all political groups that are very different from my political group, and everything is much more consensual because of the fact that the different institutions and the different political groups have to find a middle ground in order to get legislation through. So we are always negotiating in the European Parliament, always.
I can imagine, I mean, if I think about United Nations, right, consisting of hundreds of the country, and then so everybody has a different agenda, opinion about the same topic. So it's a little smaller than UN, but it's in nature, it might be similar, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I learned that you are serving on the couple of the special committee, for example, artificial intelligence, and then also you are the vice chair of the delegation for the relation with the Korean Peninsula, which is very interesting to me because I have a Korean background. I have a couple of questions to you related to that. And so what is the objective responsibility of a special committee on artificial intelligence?
First in artificial intelligence or in Korea? In
artificial intelligence.
Okay. In artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence is one of the most important topics at European level, because we are lagging behind US, we are lagging behind China, and we want to recover our leadership. So we want to make it different from what they are doing in US and they are doing in China. We have to set the standards for artificial intelligence, as we did in the GDPR regulation, but to put the citizen in the center and to have standards that respect the European values. So what we are doing in our committee is to talk to the industry, to the different stakeholders, to the different institutions, to see what are the problems and what are the challenges we have to set that kind of regulation. And we always say we need several things. We need the framework, the legislative framework. It means the standards for Europe and for other countries to follow. But we also have to work on data, because we lack a European common data space. But we also have to work on skills, and we also have to work on infrastructures, because artificial intelligence is like a triangle where we need data, you need infrastructure, and you need skills from people who make the algorithms. And that is what we do here. But our final objective is to set the standards in Europe to have a human-centered artificial intelligence that we will use everywhere when we talk now in the agriculture, in the health system. We will use artificial intelligence everywhere now.
Got you. Regarding the relation with Korea, is there any specific collaboration opportunity or committee is planning on or to promote at the moment?
I am leading two initiatives. I think one is very important. The first one, which I am working on at the moment, is to try to get the Parliament to put forward a resolution to encourage an end of war declaration in the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you.
I have just started to work on this topic, so we are at the initial stages of the process, but I believe that an end-of-war declaration between the parties involved would be vital to increase the stability between the two Koreas and to progress towards peace in the peninsula. So I hope that this initiative will not only bring the two Koreas closer, but would also bring the European Parliament closer to the peninsula. My second initiative is a report on technological innovation in the EU and the Republic of Korea, where together with experts in the field, I explore the similarities, differences, and areas of cooperation between the two. As a result of this study, I have a number of recommendations of the matter to increase cooperation with the Republic of the Korea in this domain. And for example, one proposal that we have made is creating a startup center in Seoul, made up Europe and Korea people, to strengthen collaboration between startups. So those are my main initiatives: the process of peace, and the innovation initiative.
Yeah, wonderful. So Seoul, the European Startup Center in Seoul. So how does that work? Do you sponsor, European Union sponsor, and then they build organization to accommodate the European startup there?
It was just a proposal to start studying on it, because coming from Spain, Spain is a country very similar in terms of population,
Yes.
and in terms of area. But we have followed two different paths. You are leading in innovation, and Spain is lagging behind. So we have a lot to learn from Korea, and I think this idea of create this center together for Europe and Korea could help us to understand your best practices, and also to know something what we have done well in the European Union. But it's just at a starting point, and it's just one proposal I've done. But everything here, it goes slow, and we have to push for it and to move.
Well, great idea. Keep me posted. I'm happy. I will be happy to support.
Thank you. I'll do it.
Yes. I mean, we are living in the very strange and difficult time in terms of pandemic now, right? Mm-hmm. But what I found out, I interviewed the entrepreneur in Europe, US, and Africa. I found out the Asian government are placing the very strict control of the pandemic and the international travel now, right? For example, I'm in Hong Kong. I cannot travel. If I travel, go outside Hong Kong, when I come back, I should go through the 3-week self-quarantine at the designated hotel. That's a basic, practically prison experience. But so most of people in Hong Kong, they don't travel. But I learned from my friend, my podcast guest in Europe, Africa, they very freely, they travel here and there. So what do you think? What is your thought? How we deal with the pandemic while we have to find a way to recover the economies? Because I don't think we can end the pandemic very soon. Also, people in Asia, say that we cannot keep the very strict control of a pandemic very long time. So we need to find a way to recover the economy and then dealing with the pandemic in some way. So what is your thought?
First of all, the most important thing for us in Europe was to get the vaccine, no? And once we have most population are vaccinated, and we have to think of the economic recovery, because the population, the SMEs, the industry suffer a lot. That was something that it was the first time in the European Union that we set up a recovery fund for helping the countries that have suffered the most the crisis. For example, in Europe, Spain and Italy were the most hit countries by the crisis. So it is the first time that Europe has a recovery fund called Next Generation EU, which is worth 750 billion euros. Why this recovery fund? This is to help us go out of the crisis, but to help us face the two big challenges we have in the future. And this is the digital transformation and the green transformation. So we need to help countries like Spain or France or Italy or other countries who have suffered a lot to recover the economy and to focus on those two challenges and to invest on those areas, on the digital and on the green transition. And we need to be more resilient. No, this is resilient is the most famous word here in the European Union. But we need to strengthen our health systems, and also we need to be able to transform our economy to have better connectivity like 5G, to invest in cybersecurity, in new technologies, renewables projects, and this is why we are putting this money together among all European members, and we have two conditions to use it. We have to make the necessary reforms. It means if a country wants to use this fund, they have to make reforms, for example, in education, or in the labor market, or in the pensions. And we have to use it for the projects that contribute to achieve the climate objectives, or you have to use it to invest into projects that support the digital transformation. Most part of the funds should be allocated to those big priorities, which are the priorities in Europe that we have now to overcome the crisis.
Yeah, got it. So this fund, is supposed to finance like a project and initiative, not the benefit the specific individual SME or company.
It is a fund which is allocated to the member states, to the different countries, and then each member states allocated to the specific problems of the country. For example, it is very important that these funds go to SMEs, no, to SMEs, to startups, and this is when it is allocated later. Each country allocated the funds depending on what are the priorities. But whenever they have to help, for example, innovation, or they have to help SMEs, they have to have into account the digital and the green transition. So it has to contribute to the green transition, to the fighting to the climate change, for example, or they have to contribute to digitalize the public sector, digitalize the SMEs, or so there are conditions to use the funds.
Yes.
And then the funds can be used by the regions, by the cities, and they go finally to the citizens.
So is this fund used as like a way to finance the project, or in terms of form? I understand the substance is a financing, but in terms of form is do they render this money to the SMEs or company who are engaged in this kind of innovative project in terms of a loan or equity or the what do you call it? Is a grants? What is the form of the financing?
The fund is 750 million worth.
Yes.
And half of the fund are grants and half of the funds are loans.
I see.
But there is a big part of the funds that are grants for the SMEs, because they are in huge debts now. Many countries, many SMEs, and many enterprises and startups are in huge debts, and they don't need a loan, they need grants to go out and to survive, no? So most of them are grants. And in Europe, we have a huge fund, which is called Horizon Europe. I don't know if you know it. It is about innovation. This is the biggest innovation program, I think, in the world, and to support SMEs, startups, and new enterprises, and to invest in innovation. And this is something that we want also to reinforce with this recovery fund.
So Horizon Fund is also distributed through the grants or the equity investment.
There are most of them are grants, but most of them are grants. Now we have some equity that we are starting some projects with equity. but most of the programs are covered with grants.
Yes. Okay, got you. So I finished most of question, but since I plan to share this interview with the Korea Economic Daily, Korea is a major newspaper. So I'd like to ask some personal question. Do you have anything you like about Korean culture or Korean content or Korean product?
A lot of. First,
Yeah.
I actually started watching Squid Game.
Okay.
I am so hooked.
Yes.
It's a great series that I have been recommended by so many friends and family members, and it has really lived up to my expectations. But I am really fascinated by the Korean wave overall. For example, I am in my office. They are huge fans of Korean food, from kimchi to Korean fried chicken. I don't know the exact.
Yeah, Korean we call it Korean fried chicken. Is a KFC.
Okay.
KFC.
And I have to say we have a couple of very good Korean restaurants here in Brussels. As my team and I work hard in our work on the Korean delegation, they are one of our favorite choices for our office dinners. And I have to say about the key beauty and Korean cosmetics, they are very, very famous here in Europe. And I am fanatic of my skincare routine of South Korean brands. I don't know if I can name them, but names brands like Belif, Laneige.
You're right. That is a famous brand from America.
Yes, right? Yes. And of course, I have to say, we are also fascinated by the growing popularity of K-pop.
K-pop,
K-pop. And I have to say, it is very, very famous in the Canary Islands and in Murcia. And I have to say, my kids are actually fans of BTS too. And I can't even quantify the number of times we listened to the song Dynamite at home last year, where we were locked down in Brussels. So I love the Korean culture and the Korean topics.
Very happy to hear that. Actually, I had a little bit of chat before we started this podcast call with Hara. I had have a conversation. Hara, I told her that in Korea, I was also very, very surprised. Every year, almost every year, Korea generate the unicorn startup of cosmetic unicorn startup every year. So they're set up by the young people, like in 20 years old. And then they grow the business quickly. With the 5 to 10 years, it becomes unicorn, billion-dollar company. So huge.
No doubt, because the products are marvelous. I can tell it by myself.
Yeah, probably they need to collaborate with the European brand, even grow much bigger with the synergy, right?
It will be my next proposal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in that idea. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for taking time to introduce European Union and your initiative, your activity, and interest in collaborating with Korea. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David. And you are invited here to the European Parliament whenever you want. Come to Brussels, and we can talk personally, and you can see what we do in the Parliament.
I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Also,
for sure.
In fact, I'm moving to Korea next week. Moving back. So if you have a chance to come to Korea, please let me know. We can catch
I'll do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.